Our first award ceremony today, I'd like to introduce a good friend and colleague of mine, Maria Genet. Maria is with Kairos Alive, and we're here, we talked about celebration and how we want to celebrate the leadership that has resulted in so much progress. And Maria is a queen of celebration. You're really good at that, Maria. And she and her team are going to help us celebrate the people that we're about to recognize. And so she's going to this is going to be have an audience participation component, right, Maria?
Low stress.
So listen to Maria. She's going to cue us up about how you can help us celebrate our awardees.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, man. So, of course, we're all doing it to get this together, right? We wouldn't be here if. There we go. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of us, right? So it's a perfection-free zone. Right? Join as you can. But you know how usually when people come up, we start clapping, which I really like. But we thought, and maybe Nick, you want to give us, all you have to do is either help clap or stamp your feet or something like this, right? Yeah? A little faster? There we go. Okay, that's all you'll have to do, right? And we'll just sing a little, should we try it? Sure. Okay.
Turns out, our team realized as we set to planning that this is the 15th annual conference. And so that was kind of the frame for why we're doing all this celebration of leadership here. We thought it would be a great occasion and an opportunity to celebrate the visionary leaders who have helped us achieve the progress that we've seen as a state. And you know, I've often said over the years, talking about our work, that we're not the Broadband Foundation people, we're the Blandin Foundation. But you know, in a way, you really could think of us as a leadership foundation, because one of our core theories of change and action and what makes a difference in communities is leadership, right? The leaders, the people, and we heard John talk about that, how it takes a champion. So with leadership in mind, today and each of these days at the conference, Blandin Foundation is going to be honoring a select group of people and organizations in a series of presentations of our Courageous Leadership Awards. And the awards are based on our own Broadband team's interactions and observations over the course of these long 15 years. I want to say that we know and recognize that in every community, and I'm looking out there and seeing you, there are leaders that are making important things happen. And in some cases, we just couldn't recognize everybody. So we've picked some leaders and organizations that we think are worthy of celebration because they were early and courageous in the choices that they made to improve their communities. In some cases, we're going to have a special guest with us, as I mentioned, to make these awards, as is the first case and the first award we're going to have today. So the first award that we're going to make today is to the City of Windham. So it turns out that the City of Windham was the first city in Minnesota to own and operate a municipal citywide fiber-to-the-home network. Windham really led the way in bringing connections to a rural region that the big providers had largely ignored. Windham is the county seat of Cottonwood County. It's located about 135 miles west of the Twin Cities. It's not far from the Iowa border. It's home to about 4,600 people, and it boasts several manufacturing plants and many agricultural interests. By the late 1990s, community frustration at the poor quality of available internet service was on the rise. In 1999, residents took a vote on whether to pursue a municipal network, but the measure failed. And then the incumbent internet service provider skipped over Wyndham when announcing a new DSL availability in southwestern Minnesota. So the frustrated townspeople went back to the polls in 2002 and they voted to approve a municipal network. The community decided that it wanted a fiber to the home network and began construction in 2004. Today, it's clear that the vision of Wyndham leaders and residents to build and own a citywide fiber to the home network has paid off. The network has been critical for retaining employers. It has spurred job growth. It's facilitated telemedicine at the local hospital. The network has now expanded to 8 nearby communities in a collaboration with Southwest Minnesota Broadband Services. And moving forward, it will most certainly continue to expand, giving still more residents and businesses access to modern technology. So Denise Nichols is here with us today to present this first Courageous Leadership Award to her city. Denise is a longtime friend and partner of the foundation's, and she was an early and steadfast advocate of WyndhamNet. Denise, please join me here at the podium, along with Telecom Operations Manager Jeff Donna, who is here to accept the award on behalf of City of Wyndham.
Warmer part of the state, you know, way in southwest Minnesota, close to the Iowa border. But it's hard to believe it's been 20 years since the concept of a municipal-owned fiber-to-the-home network was conceived for Wyndham, and I was very, very young then, 20 years ago. And I'm proud to have been a small part of the initial planning stage and the advocate for building a municipal-owned fiber-to-the-home network in Wyndham. From the very beginning, Wyndham had many supporters that included governors, congressmen, and senators. The late Senator Vickerman had said the only way to assure that Wyndham has telecom services that it needs to provide it for themselves. And from former Congressman Gil Gutnick said, 50 years from now, citizens will look back and say advanced telecom is as important as highways. Bringing telecom to the community was compared to the early 1900s when railroad would make or break Wyndham. And it was compared by our council members as a difficult and controversial decision of our forefathers. It was also compared by the council members to the difficult and controversial decision of our forefathers to install a municipally owned electric utility. Many considered it an investment into the city, much like putting in streets. The newspaper publisher also hoped that in 100 years, the decision to build a municipal telecom system was one of the top stories of the 22nd century for Wyndham. The Star Tribune wrote, the Wyndham City Council, when they voted for it, made a future-proof choice, and Wyndham will be known as a fiber-powered community. It was scary, difficult, and a courageous decision of the citizens of Wyndham and the City Council to move forward with a municipal-owned telecom system. I can't imagine what Wyndham would be like without this very important resource that has built our community. I'm very proud to be the one to present this award, and I would like to thank the Blandin Foundation for supporting and recognizing the City of Wyndham. This award is presented to the City of Wyndham for vision and perseverance to construct and operate Minnesota's first municipal fiber to the home network, and in support of regional broadband via Southwest Minnesota Broadband Services.
Let's give one more round of applause. congratulations to Wyndham. So our second Courageous Leadership Award is to the City of Monticello for its decision in 2007 to build a fiber-to-the-home network available to every resident and business in the city. Monticello is home to about 13,000 people. It lies on the west bank of the Mississippi River in Wright County, and it's about just 40 miles or so northwest of the Twin Cities. More than a decade ago, the local business community expressed concerns about the economic impact of poor broadband services and high prices. In response to these complaints, in 2005, the City Council appointed a task force to investigate options for the community. Through these conversations, Monticello leaders came to understand the fundamental importance of laying the technological foundation for reaping the rewards of high-speed broadband. In 2007, Monticello held a referendum per Minnesota law on one of the options under consideration, whether the citizens wanted to own and operate a telephone exchange. Despite being outspent by the incumbent providers who strongly opposed the measure, those in favor of municipally owned network won 74% of the vote, and the city proceeded to finance and build the network. TDS Telecom, one of the incumbent providers, sued the city, and for a long time tied up the project in court. This lawsuit, which was ultimately dismissed in the city's favor, was very disruptive and stressed the project financially, but the city forged on. 10 years on, it's clear that FiberNet has delivered a huge return on investment to Monticello businesses and residents. Thanks to this municipally owned fiber-to-the-home network, the city of Monticello has transitioned from a poorly connected community to one of the top connected communities in the nation. Reflecting on the city's role over time in operating FiberNet, Monticello City Administrator Jeff O'Neill wrote to the foundation, "We've never wavered in our belief that access to broadband is essential to everything from economic vitality to quality of life. We're proud the technology is available to Monticello at affordable rates, and we're proud to continue to participate in efforts for broadband access across the state of Minnesota." As Jeff notes, quote, "Thanks to the courage of conviction of Monticello leaders, FiberNet remains an asset in the community more than a decade after its inception. And it's that courage that we're celebrating here today." So at this time, I'd like to invite Jeff O'Neill, City Administrator for Monticello, and Rachel Leonard, the Communications Coordinator, to join me here at the podium to receive this award on behalf of Monticello.
Celebrate good times, come on! Celebrate good times, come on!
Well, it looks like our Monticello people are still en route. Oh, I'm sorry about that. But we'll celebrate them in absence, yeah. And when we see Jeff and Rachel later on today, we can congratulate them. Very nice. And actually, Mary, why don't we just read the, well, that's all right, we'll do that later. So our third award for today is to Lac La Parle County and Farmers Mutual Telephone Company for partnering to build a fiber-to-the-home network across most of the county. Lac La Parle County borders South Dakota. It's south of the Minnesota River, and it's blessed with gorgeous terrain of rolling hills, knolls, and dramatic bluffs overlooking the Minnesota River Valley. Agriculture is the county's mainstay. With a population density of 10.5 people per square mile, it's a deeply rural place. In the fall of 2007, at that year's Blandin Broadband Conference, Pam Lehman, who was then Executive Director of Lac La Parle's Economic Development Authority, heard a presentation by Kevin Byer, who was then and still is a leader of the General Director of Farmers Telephone Co-op. And Kevin was talking about farmers' recent fiber upgrade in the area, and Pam was inspired to dream about more fiber for the county. Back then, at that time, about 52% of Lac La Pearl residential and business properties, schools, libraries, medical clinics, government, everybody, still depended on mostly dial-up with some satellite. And under Pam's leadership, Economic Development Authority formed a broadband steering committee to look at the options for redressing the county's poor internet service. And through Blandin Foundation, our Bill Coleman provided technical assistance to the EDA, and in 2009, the foundation funded a feasibility study for the county and Farmers Mutual. That feasibility study was used to support the partner's successful funding application for $9.6 million of ERA funding back in August of 2010. And construction of the network began in 2011 and was completed in the summer of 2014, having connected about 1,700 locations that previously had had no access to the internet. With the exception of the town of Madison, very high-speed internet is now available across one of the most deeply rural counties of Minnesota. This network has allowed home-based businesses and entrepreneurship to explode in the county, and also has been a boon to small businesses and area farmers. The project worked because local leaders found a trusted, community-facing partner in Farmers Telephone Co-op. This partnership exemplifies the role of local cooperatives as reliable partners for communities seeking better broadband where incumbents have failed to provide. As Pam told Blandin Foundation, there's no place too small or too remote. If you're willing to work hard and collaborate with a wide variety of partners, envisioning a robust broadband network can become a reality. At this time, it's my deep pleasure to invite to the podium Pam Lehman to present this award on behalf of Blandin Foundation.
All right, you give them your
Celebrate good times, come on, a celebration. How about it? Celebrate good times, come on, celebration. One more time. Celebrate good times, come on, celebration.
Thank you very much. Bernadine has been such a big part of this, and my first attendance at this conference truly did inspire me. And so what I want everybody here to know is that there are a wealth of people in this room, or that Bernadine can get you connected with, that can help your community or your project move forward. I'm a lifelong resident of Lac La Pearl County, and our population is under 7,000. And the thought of being able to bring something like this to our community really truly was a shot in the dark. And I'm very proud of our leaders that they were willing to step forward. I was very blessed to have a board that truly understood that economic development isn't just about throwing money at businesses. It's about creating a community where people and businesses want to be. They were very visionary, and I'm very blessed to have Harold Solom up here with me today. He was a massive part of this project and so supportive of this, and he has since retired, but I'm just so proud that he can be here today because he was a major part of this project. I also have with me today Ben Bothan, who is our newest, and I'm gonna just say it, youngest county commissioner, and so I have great hopes for them continuing to move forward. It was a very big honor to be a part of this and to watch a county come together and take on debt. Lac La Pearl County had never had debt. We did get the ARRA funding, but that didn't cover everything, so there was debt that had to be incurred, and the project has been very successful. So thank you to Blandin. When I look around the room, Bill Coleman was a really big part of this, and Tracy, very big part as well. And there's a few people that are on the list, they're not here yet, but Joanne Johnson and Congressman Peterson's office too. We're also a very big part of making this a success. So, as we're ready to present the award to Lac La Pearl County, this award is presented to Lac La Pearl County and Farmers Mutual Telephone for their vision an innovative partnership that brought fiber optic communications to more than 1,700 rural farms and businesses, providing a model that has now been replicated in multiple rural Minnesota counties.
And our next award, a Courageous Leadership Award, is to Janet Keogh for leadership and commitment she's provided to 8 townships of the Cloquet Valley Internet Initiative. So Cloquet Valley Township Internet Initiative unites 8 townships due north of Duluth in very rural St. Louis County. And while the rolling hills and lakes make it a great place to live, it also makes it an expensive place to deploy broadband infrastructure. Being located just outside of the Lake Connection service area makes being unserved all the more frustrating. Neither incumbent or prospective providers have been willing to deploy quality broadband. Wireless has limited reach in this area due to the trees and the terrain. We all know that leaves eat broadband signals. Jan told me that she's come to think of this award not so much as a Courageous Leadership Award, but a Stubborn Persistence Award. We're still recognizing her courageous leadership. She certainly has been persistent. In researching this award, I found a clip of Jan in 2012 at an early broadband conference, giving her spiel about the Cloquet Valley Internet Initiative and why broadband was so important. And here we are, these 7 years later, awarding you for that, Jan. So I just want to say that besides this award, we're all crossing our fingers and hoping that Jan and her team will have something else to celebrate later this fall, because the local electric cooperative, Cooperative Light and Power, is one of those 70 applications that is in the hopper in Angie's inbox, having applied for a border-to-border grant application. And if that application is successful, and even if it's not, right, Jan, we're going to get that fiber network built. So at this time, please welcome Jan to the podium.
Celebrate good times, come on!
I'm totally humbled. Thank you so much for not showing that video. So I'm accepting this on behalf of the Cloquet Valley Internet Initiative that has stayed together and worked together for nearly 10 years. Getting broadband is never a one-person endeavor. It just happens that I have skills in making meetings happen, and there have been a lot of them. And we don't even have broadband yet. But I am an Irish half-glass full gal, and speaking for our team, we remain hopeful and committed. But what has kept us going all these years and continues to keep us hopeful is the broadband community. First, I want to thank all the Cloquet Valley Township representatives who have attended meeting after meeting after meeting and kept this drumbeat going. Peter Berger in Fairbanks, Stan Van Kekerich in All Township, Scott Mead, Doug Dressen, Judy Strom in Lee Kaplan in Pequot Township, John Nelson in Denison Township, Alex Dieters and James Haglin in Eldon Township, and Chuck Davis and Mike Keller are in Lakewood Township. I want to thank my own North Star Township Board for supporting my efforts through the years. Also, the late County Commissioner, Tom Lukavina. Tom really encouraged us and worked to try to convince St. Louis County to invest in broadband promotion. But there's a number of broadband providers who have been generous in providing their time and educating us through the years. They've been willing to meet with us repeatedly. Rich Spay, Matt Huddleston, and the late Paul Bergman from Lake County and Lake Connections. Kevin Olson and Hal Halpern from Co-op Light and Power, who brought wireless internet to some of our folks, and it's really made a big difference to a lot of people. Joanne Johnson is a bit of mentor for me personally, and also conducted one of our feasibility studies way back in 2012. Whitney Ridlon has been a colleague and a sister in this cause, and I really want to call her out. And the USDA RUS Dominic Henderson also met with us several times and gave us to keep working for broadband. Our rural townships would not even have a chance without the pressure and the visibility and the advocates from across the state for broadband. This just wouldn't happen. And I want to thank staff of the Office of Broadband Development who have always been willing to take my call and talk to me about broadband. Members of the Minnesota Rural Broadband Coalition, the Blandin Foundation programs, especially people like Bill Coleman and Tracy Bernadine, Mary Magnuson, and thank you to the foundation for helping to fund our feasibility studies. And I'm especially grateful to the Broadband Conference for bringing together people who I could talk to and learn from all these years. And all of you that have been a wonderful network and a source of ideas and connections to keep our energy recharged and going. So my advice to anyone trying to get broadband in your community, don't be shy, keep going, don't give up. And thank you so much.
So I just want to quickly read Jan's citation. It says, "This award is presented to Janet Keogh for the leadership and commitment she has provided to the 8 townships of the Cloquet Valley Internet Initiative and the inspiration she has provided to the Blandin Foundation broadband team over the near decades-long struggle to bring broadband connectivity to this rural region." So let's hear it again for Jan's efforts. And now today, the final Courageous Leadership Award for today is being bestowed posthumously, been practicing that, posthumously, in honor of the late Paul Bergman. Paul served as a Lake County Commissioner until his death in 2013. Paul's widow, Jan, his children, and some other members of his family are here with us today to receive the award on Paul's behalf. As a businessman, Paul was known for his goodwill and humor and his signature of honesty and fairness. He had a gift for bringing out the best in others. These good traits prompted voters to elect Paul to represent District 4 on the Lake County Board of Commissioners. It was a job that he loved. As a commissioner, Paul championed bringing a fiber-to-the-home fiber optic network to Lake County. He understood that the future of the county depended on it. At the time of his death, Paul was serving his 2nd term in office. Today, Lake County Connections is a 1,200-mile fiber network across Lake County and parts of eastern St. Louis County, operated by Zito Media. The network has delivered a myriad of benefits to county businesses and residents. Unlike many of Minnesota's counties, Lake County is well-served and well-poised to meet Minnesota's 2026 broadband goals. Median household income in Lake County is growing, house prices are climbing, and anecdotally, residents say more families are moving in because of the broadband connections available. The network is one more big asset to the county. They have Lake Superior, and now they have a fiber network. According to a Blandin study on the return on investment in broadband infrastructure in 5 rural Minnesota counties, by 2018, residents of Lake County had enjoyed a combined household economic benefit from the network of over $13.6 million and a combined increase in residential real estate value of over $38 million. Reflecting on the board's decision to invest in the network back in 2009, Rich Svay, Paul's then colleague on the board and a Lake County commissioner to this day, told the Lake County News Chronicle, I think one of the things you have to remember, Rich said, is that if the county had not stepped up to move in the direction of putting broadband throughout the county, it wouldn't have happened. No other provider was going to build a broadband network with the speeds and capabilities that we have for our rural constituency. So this time, I'd like to invite Rich Svay to the podium, and Rich will present the award as well. Thank you for being here, Rich.
Celebrate good times, come on, celebration. Celebrate good times, come on, celebration. Celebrate good times, come on, celebration.
Can I get them just to follow me wherever I go?
Sure.
Thank you, Bernadine, and good afternoon, everyone. I might have to get the glasses off. Mentors. Throughout my life, I've had a number of mentors. I've had that privilege. I would imagine that most of us, if not all here today, have benefited from mentorship. Someone that saw in you the ability, a skill, or a spark. They reached out and made a difference in your life. Paul Bergman was my first mentor as a county commissioner. Paul was the champion and driving force behind Lake County's broadband fiber project to the home, known as Lake Connections. In my opinion, Lake County's rural population would not have broadband of this caliber if not for Paul's vision and tireless efforts. Lake Connection is truly a legacy of Paul's. Paul would have relished this conference. His insatiable appetite to learn and share more about broadband would be evident to all of us here. And I guarantee you would have met or known who Paul Bergman was by the end of this conference. Right? Paul loved being a county commissioner. More than once he told me he wished he had become a commissioner long before he did. Aside from his many contributions, I often wonder what else he would have accomplished had he had more time. Paul suffered from the disease of scleroderma. Complications of the disease would claim his life. But prior, it did not seem to slow him down. I've ever been amazed by his ability to push on, even times that the disease weighed him down. His humor and his wit at the ready, his concerns for his family, friends, and constituents at the forefront. Paul was a wonderful public servant. He was a superb community leader. The last time Paul and I spoke was about just a few days before he passed away. I sat with him and he interrogated me, and I gotta stress, interrogated me, for 20 minutes on the state of the broadband project. We were in the middle of the project at the time. Paul needed to know how the project was progressing, what were the next steps, and he also shared his opinions and advice. He then spoke about the county, and he spoke about his family. And I reflected upon that conversation at various times over the years, and have come to realize Paul was my mentor and model to the very end. Today, it is my honor to present this posthumous award on behalf of Blandin Foundation, Paul's wife Jan Bergman and his family. It is a privilege to have her and Paul's daughters, Janet, Jenny, Amy, and Jackie with us today, as it is to have Paul's sister Joan and grandnephew Jordan. This award reads, "This award is made in posthumous recognition of the courageous leadership of Paul Bergman, whose vision for a broadband-enabled future for Lake County brought modern access to the internet to the residents of the county he loved, and served as commissioner from 2007 until his death in 2013.
We hear a lot about positive thinkers. Everybody wants to be around positive thinkers. So Paul was, but he was a possibility thinker in every aspect of his life. And when he was part of the Minnesota Commissioners Alliance and came to learn about broadband, the more he learned, the more passionate he became about that. Because broadband meant that there were opportunities and possibilities in all the fields that we heard about this morning: education, economic development, medical field, business attraction and retention, commerce, government. And all of this was possible, but not limited by where you lived. If we could just bring this to Lake County. And as Rich said, that passion was evident till the last hours, because every commissioner that came through that hospice room, he was giving them direction, asking questions, making sure they knew all the next steps, and encouraging them not to let this evaporate or go away because it was a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting. I want to thank the Blandin Foundation for this recognition, and I want to thank everybody in this room for continuing to carry the broadband torch throughout the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
And to wrap up our award ceremony for this afternoon, we have one final award today to RS Fiber Cooperative. And this award is to RS Fiber for its commitment to universal access to world-class broadband for everyone, with no one left behind. It was a long, hard slog to create RS Fiber. But despite many obstacles, the enterprise continues to be animated by an understanding that the fate of the region's population centers inexorably on the fate of the farmers and their farms. Sibley County is located in south central Minnesota. It's home to just over 15,000 people, and Renville County has almost the same population, about 16,000 people. It's just to the north and west of Sibley. The region is heavily agricultural and sparsely populated. Today, more than ever, farmers need internet connectivity to do business and to stay competitive. With a broadband connection, farmers can benefit from the continuing innovation of precision agriculture, which increases yields and reduces the needs for inputs. But without a broadband connection, not so much. The RS Fiber story began arguably about 7 years ago at a city council meeting when Winthrop Mayor Dave Trebelhorn raised the need to address the community's poor connectivity. This was an idea born in Dave's heart. Understanding that Winthrop, about a population of about 1,400 people, was just too small to solve the problem on its own, Dave's inspiration, they created a joint powers board to include all of the 7 cities in Sibley County, as well as the city of Fairfax in Renville County. In May 2010, Blandin Foundation awarded the group a feasibility study grant, and the Joint Powers Board used the study results to educate the public about the need and the opportunity for building a world-class network and to begin seeking financing. Then in the fall of 2012, concerned about the project's plan for how to structure the debt service reserve fund, the Sibley County Board of Commissioners, in a 3-2 vote, passed a resolution to withdraw from the Joint Powers Board. Undaunted, immediately following this vote, and this is a legendary story in the Minnesota rural broadband community, a group of farmers stood up, walked across the street, and in an impromptu meeting there, they vowed to continue the effort by going back to their roots, as one of them said, and form a co-op. RS Fiber hired Hiawatha Broadband Corporation, HBC, to build and operate the gigabit fiber to the premise network when the project was launched. And in June of this year, RS Fiber Co-op announced the formation of a long-term operating relationship with Hiawatha Broadband Communications. And under this new partnership, HBC will provide funding for the continued operation and growth of the network. Today, with a vision of enriching the lives of our rural communities, RS Fiber is a community-owned, community-driven network bringing a high-speed, low-cost fiber optics network to 10 communities located in Renville, Sibley, McLeod, Nicollet counties, serving over 2,200 customers and growing. RS Fiber communities already are seeing significant economic growth, like the medical school coming to Gaylord, along with education, telemedicine, and precision agriculture benefits. Early project champion Dave Reiki told Blandin Foundation, quote, "Broadband access in rural Minnesota is the lifeline to the world. Most important is education for all rural people who otherwise are cut off from a rapidly changing world where we all need to be connected." With us today to present this Courageous Leadership Award to RS Fiber is my dear friend and longtime colleague, Mark Erickson. Mark, would you come on up and join us, please, here? Mark's horn here a minute. Mark himself is a Blandin Community Leader of the Year. When I first met Mark was long ago in 2001 at a Blandin Community Leadership Conference where he was being recognized as being the Blandin Community Alum of the Year. Mark, just as good looking now as you were. Yeah. And Mark has been such a generous colleague and teacher. I've learned a lot about what I understand about broadband from Mark. And today, Mark serves as a member of Blandin's Broadband Strategy Board, for which I'm really grateful. At the time, part of the RS story, Mark was the city administrator for the city of Winthrop. So when his mayor, Dave, got this bright idea, it was Mark's job to get it done, I guess. And he's had a really key role in imagining the network and then creating it. And so it's really wonderful to have you part of the celebration. And we should invite the Rikis to join us. Dave Trebleholm is here. Dave, please come on up. And the other, and Jake and Dave. And we can sing them again while they come on up, guys. Come on, please turn up.
Celebrate good times, come on. Celebrate good times, come on.
Well, thank you, Bernadine. My wife and I just got back from Hong Kong to see our new grandson. We just got off the plane 2 days ago, and I don't know if I'm on an upward or a downward spiral of jet lag. So we'll see how this goes. You could really call RS Fiber the you could really call RS Fiber the rural serendipity of fiber, because we had so many good things come together that were so unexpected, starting with the Blandin Foundation. There would be no RS Fiber without Bernadine and Bill and Mary and Ann and the whole crew at Blandin. But I was lucky enough to have answered a job application in Winthrop to have a mayor like Dave who had the vision for fiber in the town. And I was lucky enough, as he reminded me that he signed my paycheck, that we had to continue forward to have people like Dave and Jake from Renville County who were so instrumental in bringing the rural folks into our network. We were very fortunate along the way. We had help from the state. We had help from a lot of people. So this really isn't an award that any one person can claim or any 3 people can claim. We can only claim it on behalf of the 10 cities and the 10 city councils, 9 of which voted unanimously to issue tax bonds to help finance the project, and 17 townships. We have a hell of a joint powers meeting. When we all get together, there's 27 members. And the leadership from the 17 townships who also have stepped up and said, we need to make this network happen. So the 10 towns have a gigabit symmetrical internet for around $70 a month, which is amazing, with no data caps. And the rural area is served with 50 down, 25 up, wireless, fed from our fiber backbone. And so really it's Dave and Jake who, and the people that they know who made all of this happen. So Dave, why don't you say something as the guy whose idea this whole thing was?
I really wasn't prepared for a speech, or I could have rolled one out or something. But I guess, I don't know, I had something that just told me we need to keep pushing forward on this. And if it wasn't for Mark and Blandin behind us, I guess I didn't know where to turn. But Mark had a lot of connections with what FiberNet was. And then you get people like the Rickies and, like Mark said, that's the 10 cities in that could see that if we don't do it ourselves, we're not going to. We run into a lot of roadblocks. Somehow we got over them and we got to where we are today. And you've heard it earlier, you know, a couple other people in their speeches that don't give up, keep going, keep going, keep going. So I want to thank Mark also and Blandin for being there behind us. Thank you.
They want to talk about the need for the township to be involved, because we really have a public-private partnership. It's cities and townships and counties.
Well, I don't know. My biggest fear sitting out there was these wonderful folks over here were going to ask me to dance. And being half German and half Norwegian, that would have been some kind of a combination between a drunken polka and some kind of Norwegian square dance. I don't know. But no, anyway, yeah, it was a challenge out there in the townships. I've been involved with township government for about 45 years. So I think one of the things that helped was I knew a lot of the supervisors and the folks out there, and I guess they figured, well, if it's good enough for Carroll Township, it must be all right. I hope I had some influence on that, but it's been a joy working with folks, and I really appreciate this award. And one of the fun things about this is getting to meet the folks that work up here at Blandin, and Allie and Mary and Bernadine, and so, and again, thanks to the foundation, and thank you.
Real quickly, Jake is Dave's son. He's a 5th generation. He's a 5th generation farmer who went to school at Hamlet. Is that right? And he and his wife moved back to the farm, and his passion is technology. And Jake, why don't you talk a little bit about what RS Fiber has launched into now with its new relationship with the Hiawatha Broadband folks?
So I became the chair of RS Fiber just a couple months ago in August, and RS Fiber recently went through a refinancing, basically a restructuring of our debt. Ultimately, we ran into a point where we needed to convert some construction loans into long-term low-interest amortization. And HBC stepped up and filled that role for putting in that financing for the co-op. So yes, thanks again. You know, I think everything's been said already. It's been a huge collaboration to get us to where we are today. And thanks again to the Blandin Foundation and Mark and all the folks involved.
Thanks, Jake. You know, I want to end this by saying, I started out by saying this could be the rural serendipity project, and what I forgot that we were so fortunate to have in our mix was HBC. The leadership from Gary Evans and now the leadership from Dan Pecorina is incalculable. But the serendipitous event in my life is my wife, Christy, who the fiber became the F word in our house. She quit asking me years ago, what are you talking about? Because all I said was, well, fiber. But without Christy and this whole mix, this would not have been worth it. So thank you, Christy.
Well, thanks again. Let's have one more big round of congratulations to all of our today awardees. So I'm going to announce a little transition time now, where our next we're going to have this afternoon three concurrent sessions. And Mary is going to lead the group over to the session at the Gull Lake Center, which is the Pursuing Broadband Case Studies of Improved Broadband with Angie Dickinson. And Mary will lead the group over there. It's just next door.
Yeah.
Sure, why don't you go ahead.
And also the ICF approach session is in the Gull Lake Center also. And the way you get there, and I will be heading over there pretty soon, is you go out the doors off to my left here and follow the path along the